So this is the last lesson of your decimal unit. So this is dividing decimals by decimals. This is just an example problem. So now we have a decimal in the divisor and a decimal in the dividend. So the first thing that we need to keep in mind is that this number, which is the divisor, needs to be a whole number. So how do we make this a whole number? Well, we move the decimal one spot to the right, and that makes it now 11. Now imagine that's not there. I took white out, it's not there, now it's 11. So that's the first thing we need to do. Then if I move it to make it 11 one spot, that means I need to move the decimal in the divisor. I also need to move the decimal in the dividend the same amount of spots. So if I moved it one spot to the right, then I need to go to my dividend and move this one spot to the right. And now it's like if I took my eraser or white out and got rid of this, and now it's 49 7/10. After we do that, now we have a whole number here in our divisor, and we've moved the decimal the same amount of spots. We're just going to divide like normal. So the first thing we're going to do is bring the decimal up, raise it to the roof. 11 can go into 49 4 times. 4 times 11 is 44. Subtract. I get 5. I bring down my 7 and bring it back around. Divide. 57 divided by 11 is 5. 5 times 11 is 55. When I subtract, I get 2. Now, I'm going to keep going, so I need to add a trailing 0. Bring my trailing 0 down to make this 20. 11 can go into 20 once. 1 times 11 is 11. When I subtract, I get 9. Now, this is going to keep going, because you'll notice it will never get to anything down here. My difference will never be anything when I drop a 0 that 11 can go into. But I always like to go to the 100th spot, and 11 can go into 98 times. But notice I went to the 1000th spot so that I can round. So I'm going to stop right there and make it 4.52, and I rounded that 1 up to 2 because of this 8. Okay, so here's another example. Again, I cannot have a decimal in my divisor, so I need to move that over once. Now it's effectively 23. Imagine that's not there. If I move it over once, I need to move this over once, so now I have 62.6. Again, imagine I take my eraser, and that's there. It's gone now. Now the next step is to raise it to the roof, and then we divide. 23 can go into 62 twice. 2 times 23 is 46. When I subtract, 12 minus 6 is 6, and then bring down this, 5 minus 4 is 1. I'll bring down this 6, so now I have 166. Sometimes what I like to do when I start to get to these bigger numbers is I either like to estimate, so I'll turn this into 20, and maybe make this 200, or I'll turn this into, think of it as 2, and how many times can 2 go into 16? Well, 2 can go into 16 8 times, but I don't know if that 3 is going to be able to go into 66. So my guess right now would be 7. You can also make a list over here of multiples. So just basically add 23 each time. 1, 2, 3, and then keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My guess was 7, so let's see if we can add another 23. If I add 23 here, I get 11. 6, 161. Someone might want to check that, but that's as close as I can get without going over 161. So 7 times 23 is 161. And see how I already have that multiplication done? So I don't need to do that off on the side. When I subtract, I get 5. I'll add a trailing 0, bring down my trailing 0. Now I have 50. I know that it can go in twice. 2 times 23 is 46. The difference here will be 4. I'll bring down another 0, and it can only go in once. So again, if I were rounding to the 100th spot, I would get 2.72. Alright, so again, we're going to bring this over. to make this 42, which means I need to bring my decimal and my dividend over to make it 808. Now I know 40 plus 40 is 80, and this is 42, which means it's only going to go into 80 once. And no, oops, I forgot to raise my decimal to the roof. I'm going to have to extend that a little bit. Notice how I put the 1 above the 0 because 42 went into 80. 1 times 42 is 42. When I subtract, I get 38, and I'll bring down the 8. Now I can over here go ahead and make my multiples list. So 84, 126, and I could keep going that way. I can also just estimate too and see if that's right. So this is really close to 40, or think of it as 4, and 4 can go into 36 times 9. So I'm going to try 9. So let's do 42 times 9, 18, that's 36, 37. So that will work. So I'm going to put a 9 up there, which I did. 9 times 42 is 378. When I subtract, I get 10. I will add a trailing 0 and bring it down. Now I have 100. 42 can go into 100 twice. 2 times 42 is 84. When I subtract, I get 16. And let's do one more trailing 0. 160. If I add 42 to this, I would get 168. That's too many times, so it's going to go in 3 times. And I'm going to stop there. Again, I could keep going forever, but the 100th spot is what I'm looking for. So 19 and 23 hundredths. All right, again, move decimal over to the right. We have 32. Move the decimal over one place to the right there too. So we have 841. Raise the decimal to the roof. Again, I can come over here and make my multiples list. So 32 plus 32 is 64. Plus 32 is 96, and I could keep going that way, or I can estimate too. If this is close to 30, and let's say this is close to 90, 3 can go into 90 3 times. I think because this is less than 90 though, we're going to go down to 2, so 32 twice. And I know that over here, 96 is too many. Again, keep in mind, see how I put the 2 above the 4 because it went into 84. 2 times 32 is 64. When I subtract, I get 20. I'll bring down this 1. I know 3 can go into 21 7 times. So again, this is close to 21. And 3 times 7 is 21. But because this is greater than 30 and this is less than 21, I'm going to try it 6 times. 32 times 6. 192. I think that's as close as I can get. I add a trailing 0, bring it down. And now 32 into 90. Well, I know it can go into 96, and that's too many. So again, it's going to be twice. And 2 times 32 is 64. When I subtract, I get 26. I'll bring down one more 0 to make this 260. Again, I always like to think of compatible numbers. I know 3 can go into 24 8 times, and then 27 would be too many, so let's try 8. I don't know for sure until I try it off on this side. And that's what it will be, 256. And again, I could keep going forever, but I'm going to stop there at 26.28. Okay, you have 4 problems to do on your own, and then you're going to get them checked by me. So write this one down in your notebook, pause the video, write it down. Write this one in your notebook, this one, and this one.